We are so excited to talk to Sofia Karvela and Phuong, Ireland today, the founders of WKND Nation, the clothing brand defined by their comfort gone stylish aesthetic and classic silhouettes with a twist that can be dressed up or down or anything in between. Sofia was born in Athens, Greece, and worked as a stylist for the legendary Pat Field on the iconic shows Sex and the City and Younger. And Phuong graduated from Duke University and Columbia Business School and has worked for major brands like Victoria's Secret, Aerie, and American Eagle. And most recently, she launched an e-commerce business for the media brand Scary Mommy. Tina and I were lucky enough to meet Phuong at their pop-up shop here in New York, and we just fell in love with her, and we cannot wait to meet Sofia today. If you follow us on Instagram, you have probably seen us in their all-day PJs, matching sets, and their power tees. We cannot get enough of this brand, and we know after listening to these gals talk, you're just going to want to get on their website and buy everything. So please welcome Sofia and Phuong. Hello.
Hi, Phuong.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Excited to talk tonight.
I'm like living in that pajama set.
Me too.
Yes, and I'm wearing my shirt today.
I love that.
How are you?
So good. How are you?
I am great.
We're so excited to meet you.
You go through the pictures that you guys shared and gave us so much energy, which is very on brand.
So, Phuong, as I was doing my research, I discovered you and I have a lot in common. I am also from St. Louis.
What?
And
Yay!
my dad also started a restaurant.
In St. Louis?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Where?
It was called the Pasta House Company. It's an Italian restaurant.
Of course I know the Pasta House. I actually was really upset because I wasn't able to get to a pasta house this last time I was there because I wanted like that salad and I wanted some toasted ravioli.
Oh,
that's amazing.
My gosh, that's so funny. So you you were born in Vietnam. Did you move right to St. Louis when you were 3?
Well, I was a refugee. So we moved from Vietnam to Hong Kong to a refugee camp, and then moved to Oklahoma where a couple of my aunts were living and trying to figure stuff out. And then we moved to St. Louis because my dad's cousin had a house there. We lived in his basement. And then my parents opened, they worked in different restaurants in the St. Louis area, and then opened their own restaurant when I was 7 or 8. And they still run it. My dad's in his 80s.
Okay, so wait, where is your family's restaurant?
It's in University City.
It is?
On Olive, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've probably been to it.
Small world. That's amazing. And Sofia, you were born in Greece to also entrepreneurial parents. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that affected your work ethic today?
So my mother is, as we speak, performing still with my son, holding her hand because they're dancing, not because she's, she needs assistance being held up.
Yeah.
They're more than that. I actually grew up in a star sort of struck situation. They were very famous when I was born, which made it very hard for me to, for the longest time, find myself. Like a lot of kids of famous parents sort of, and I've connected with a few over that. It can kind of mess up a little bit of the reality aspect. You kind of think that, this is norm and I need that right immediately, right? It kind of it can be very troubling and kind of painful to not be as talented, right? Because they're both artists. In the sense of though, it was very kind of troubling to me because I had the same kind of ambition growing up and watching them be so obsessed with what they did and succeed so beautifully, but still kind of saw what it takes. And that's been a huge part of my journey and perhaps my DNA, because I, even though I don't have a voice and I try to act, it never worked out for me. I came to New York to study acting when I was 17. I was able to find what I loved, and I knew I needed that. I needed something to fall in love with in my life. Otherwise, I couldn't really see myself doing it. It's hard enough. That was a big part of my journey and early enough kind of knowing that I really wanted to do something of my own. I really don't like working for other people.
we don't either. The same.
It's not my thing. I did it though for the longest time, and I had beautiful experiences and learned so much. But I mean, I was always kind of aiming for what this is now.
So we have to touch on, you worked for the legendary Patricia Fields on Sex and the City, and
2 missed calls from her right now, and I'm
oh my God. And you were really, really young. So can you kind of tell us how that came to be? How did you wiggle your way in there?
That is exactly what I did. I wiggled. My mother knew her, but Patricia is not the kind of person that does favors. She takes pride in that, actually, and I love that about her. To which I kind of requested that I start working, and she declined kindly, politely. I pushed enough, and eventually I think she just kind of like let me hang around as an intern and asked me to just watch and learn and bring coffee. And it was very Sex in the City kind of moments and very Devil Wears Prada when I would like, use that belt, and everyone would like stare at me like,
Oh my God.
the can just spoke. Like what? It was funny, yeah, because I was like, oh, I can do this. So working with her was one of the most amazing experiences. It's literally how I started and learned from her. A very hard worker, very creative, fearless, which is something that I really appreciate. It wasn't about whether it's right or wrong. It's like, do I like it? Can I back it? And I basically, after I worked, I think it was about 6 months, and I was assisting her on shoots, and then I was working at her store as a sales girl. I was very good selling stuff. She asked me to help with Sex and the City, and that's when it all started kind of like coming together, like the beginning of it all.
Okay. Now, how did the two of you, can you talk us through about how the two of you met? You were set up, right, on a coffee date?
Yeah, I think we were both kind of, at a place in our careers where we were looking for something else. And, we were networking. I was having conversations with like all different entrepreneurs and, getting their advice. And we got set up individually with, the group who's now our investor. And they met us separately and they thought that we would work well together, but they wanted to see how, it would really work out. So they set us up on a coffee date. And, I, of course, I looked Sofia up, and then you're like, oh, great, Instagrammer, right. Like, what are we going to have in common? And we show up at this coffee shop, and, we kind of both talked about, like, just got to know each other, just like talked about ourselves, and then what we thought this brand could be, and, our ideas for it. We both came from it like a really different points of view. Like, I feel like we're very different in the way that we think and our backgrounds, but I think we have so much in common. Like, I think the work ethic is definitely one of them, right? Sofia, we both kind of have it from the different ways that we grew up, but like it's something that really binds us. The fact that we're both moms, the fact that we both like that, I think that really kind of binds us a lot in a way that, it's not so obvious when you're working, but it really does. And I think we kind of felt like from the beginning, like there was something there. And I remember we were, at the very end, like Sofia goes, well, so do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then, and that's how, it all got started. And we just didn't stop from that point. I mean, we stopped because of COVID and all the things that happened then, but it just was like full steam ahead.
It seems like you are good at different things, which is the dream. Like, it seems like, Phuong, you've had more of a corporate background, and it seems like, Sofia, you're creative, you've been freelancing. Can you kind of talk about your partnership and how you complement each other?
Yeah, of course. As you said, I think the different strengths there, but the same point of view and ultimately goal is what can make I think anything work. I think it's the fact that we're able to agree from the very, very beginning that our main mission here is to make people feel really good in their skin. I think there's different ways and avenues in which we've both explored and feel about that particular concept. But ultimately, we are people that deeply care about what our customer is going to experience and the kind of message that we want to put out there. So creatively on my end, it's about, bringing in that injection of style to something that we like to call, comfort, right? But what that means in our brand, and we both agree. So it's like we're both working towards this main kind of core, which is make sure that the people that are, associated or come in contact or learn or hear or love the brand, like just remember that this is a brand that's like promoting that freedom of self-judgment as much as possible, and adding that sense of life is messy, and agreeing on those things is like how we start then designing. It doesn't start from, oh, let's make a t-shirt because it's cool. It's like, we want to make a t-shirt, right, that simplifies someone's life because it's tucked and rolled in a way where we feel like it's going to make your shoulders feel, elevated, and you're going to feel good in it, and it's comfortable, and it's organic cotton, and there's in ways in which it's going to help you feel great going out there into the world. So it's like everything that we do has a mission around it. And the fact that we agree on that mission is what makes it move forward.
I'm wearing the Power Tee right now. We watched a few little episodes on YouTube.
The Shopify Plus.
Yes. And I love the part where you're talking about how when you're styling people, when you're styling, it's always, a tuck here or a roll here to really style it up. And how when you were designing these clothes, it was like, let's take that guesswork out for the consumer and have it done for them. And that's what I love about the Power Tee, is that like it's cool. Because I never wore t-shirts because I didn't know how to style them. This one I'm like, nope, great. I just throw it on and I'm styled.
And I love with the matching, the all day PJ set, you guys have that little built-in bra underneath, because that's what I would go looking for. If I were just buying that by itself, I would go looking for something like a little mini tank to put under it. There are these cool, comfy clothes that are styled in a way for you that really only a stylist could think about. Okay, I want to know what happens in your partnership. How do you handle the times when you disagree?
I mean, I think there are different ways that we've worked through it, right? It happens, I think, towards the beginning when we're just getting to know each other, it's really hard, right? Because you don't, like we're trying to assess like what's her personality, what's her skill set, like what makes her tick. And so, I think that we've had like a lot of kind of ups and downs as we've gotten to know each other. But I think that as we've gotten to know each other and really understood like what pushes each other's buttons, what gets each other excited, what gets each other inspired, I think it's become a lot easier. I think the day-to-day becomes a lot easier, I think, but there are also like a lot of external factors that make things hard sometimes, right? Like it's like if business isn't great, or if like we had a tough meeting or whatever, I feel like it's almost like a marriage where you're just kind of getting through ups and downs together, and helping each other through it. And, a lot of times when you look back at times where, oh my God, I cannot believe that like we didn't talk for, 3 days because we were so mad at each other. But like after that, like we got so much closer. Like it's really unlike any other relationship that I've had, in that, you're stuck together. Like you're in it, right? Like a marriage. I mean, it's kind of like a marriage, but it's like, it really kind of makes you work through things and make sure that like, if things aren't working or things aren't right, like you were very proactive about kind of fixing it, because it's essential to the way that we run the business.
And you're both mothers, and you also have this child of Weekend Nation together. So I can see how that would feel sort of like this is your baby together, and you want to work together to make it the best child it can be.
And I mean, oh my gosh, Tina and I know that. We talk all day, every day, and we've had times where we disagree and have had to have hard conversations. Mm-hmm. It's tricky, but I feel the exact same. If you can push through, then it becomes a better relationship, a better working relationship, and you get closer. So you guys were launching right as COVID was hitting. Well, also, I highly recommend this Shopify Plus 3-part YouTube series. It's so fabulous. Interesting. I really loved it. But I was watching you guys. So I worked as a fit model for years, and I was watching you guys trying to do these virtual fittings, and I was so frustrated for you. Like, I can't imagine trying to get something off the ground for the first time and not being able to be in the room. But you guys, you persevered. You're everywhere now, and you're popping up on Instagram, only because you really stuck through that time and had to have so much patience. And I'd love for you guys to kind of walk us through how you dealt with that crisis and that stress and kind of came out on top.
That's a tough one, because we didn't stick to that plan. I lost my mind and started screaming and said, we're no longer doing one more Zoom meeting. Like, we're gonna, I don't know, whatever, wear 7 masks at this point, and we're gonna do it in person. So, but at the beginning, yes, we did do that, and it was frustrating. I think that it just keeps on going back to the same thing for me, and I want to kind of keep putting it out there. It's like they have the saying, there's a will, there's a way, What seems on the outside like, oh my God, to us it's like, hell yeah, it's like, it doesn't, because again, the goal is what? To put this brand out there and connect with people and make them feel great. Whether that is like powering through this like idea of virtual fittings. I mean, I remember we had to do our campaign, and it was like January 5th. I remember it was the day after my son's birthday. and I had some kids over, and I was like, okay, maybe I got COVID from like the 5-year-olds, and then we're gonna get tested tomorrow, because like, you know, it was twilight zone. And every time we've had to do a campaign, like remember Phuong, we had like the blizzard, and I was running with my husband driving me. We were looking for like skates. It was, you know, it doesn't end. The thing is, it's not just that moment of like, even if it were not for COVID restrictions, I can promise you it would be just as chaotic, because it doesn't, you know, it's hell in any way you look at it, and beautiful at the same time, right? But I think that that's kind of where it was. It's like, it's never pretty. I mean, unless someone else is doing it for you and you have the luxury to, again, not be in it. But I think when you're in it and kind of raising something from the ground up, come COVID or come not, it's never easy.
For anyone who doesn't know, can you kind of talk about what it is to be a stylist? Because I think that people think it's very glam and you're just trying on clothes. But like, walk us through like what is so important about having an in-person fitting for your brand, for the details.
A fitting is essentially to really understand how the garment falls on the body, and to connect with the actual person wearing it in that moment in that room, and understand what it is about it that works or doesn't, right? So I think what's interesting in our process at WKND Nation, we're not designing, there's a lot of intention behind everything that we do and every garment that we put out there. So if it's not functional, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't sit well, you know, if I want feathers coming out of the shoulders, it might be a very creative point of view for another company, but we're all about functionality and ease. And what we're trying to say here also is like, in those fittings, we want to kind of make sure that that person is feeling that message. If Phuong and I love the garment, right? It's so cool, it's so fashionable, and the person is like, we had the moment where he was like, I like this jumpsuit, and the girl is leaning over. She's like, I feel like I'm exposed, and I'm like, well, it looks great. And I remember Phuong sent me a message. She's like, that was inappropriate. You have to listen to what people want. You know, we care, right? That's what we are. And I was like, you know what? I thought about it, and I kind of fought back, and I said, well, at the same time, I'm the creative director, and I think that it looks great lower. You know, it's like, well, wait a minute, because that is a very essential process in understanding how that fits on real women. And we fit, you know, on women with curves, on you know, from small to double extra large for that reason, because we want to make sure that our clothes fit well on all body types. You know, I have a very narrow body, things fall on me, it's different, right? Yes, we have a creative process and understanding, and Phuong is always very supportive and you know, loves what I create, and you know, her merchant eye is always sort of on top. It's very easygoing, that part. Once we get into that fitting room is where it goes back to that process of like, you know, the WKND Nationer is like the person that we want them to hold on to their comfort out as they do their living. And that's part of, it's the number one thing, really.
It's kind of the combination of both of our skill sets, right? Like, it's like, obviously it has to look really good, but there are a lot of things you can make look good in a photo, in a video, in, you know, which is what we were seeing over Zoom. But it's like, our clothes are about like this like tactile feeling, like this like soft, like incredibly soft, buttery fabrics, just the way that it fits, the way that it makes the person feel. That's the part that for us in doing these Zoom fittings was like impossible to understand. And that's like half of the whole of the product. You know, we had to launch late. We weren't gonna, you know, settle for something that looked good, but we didn't know like how it felt. And so we decided to, you know, make some hard decisions and push the launch back to get it absolutely perfect.
Before you joined us today, Sofia, we were talking with Phuong because Alex and I went to visit the pop-up store a few weeks ago, and we just loved it. We had the best time, but Phuong was telling us about how it's more than just clothes. It's more than just putting a t-shirt on. It's an experience and an attitude and a vibe. And you really do get that whole experience from the moment you walk into the store or get online and go to the website, and you really feel happier, you know, looking at these pieces and wearing these pieces.
And we're so also really grateful. Something else we've talked about with you guys is the sizing. So yes. Tina and I are both really tall. We're 5'9" and we're size 10, 12. And a lot of times certain brands, like their extra large will be a 10 or their extra large will be a 10, 12. And I always think like, if someone is a size bigger than me, like where are they shopping? Like where are they buying their clothes? And I just love your sizing scale. I think it's great. I think it's very inclusive.
So, we fit it on like the 3 different body types. We fit it on like a small, a large, and a double XL, so that it's not just a grading up, because people, it's not like, because when you go from a small to an XL, it's not just like 30% bigger, right? Like it's not like you don't have 30% longer arms or like 30% wider head, it's just, and so fitting it on real people. I think that's, I mean, I think we're still not happy with like what, like, and we still want to do more, and we still want to communicate more about our fit and all the different body types that we fit to our customers. So we're still exploring different ways that we can do that, because it's so important.
And I love that conversation is living, and it's still happening. It's not like, okay, great, we've decided on it and we're done.
Right. Yeah, no, never. We're never done, right, Sophia?
Never done. So I would love to hear kind of how you came up with your branding and outreach strategy. It was really spot on. I feel like we are definitely your target customers. I saw that Instagram ad. I saw that power tee. I was like, wait, I was scrolling. Wait, what is that? Excuse me? Bought it immediately. Then I looked you guys up. I saw that cool workout video on your website. And then I see that you're hitting all the good Montauk spots. You're at my favorite places. I mean, you're at Gurney's, you're at the Surf Lodge, you're partnering with Kin. I am drinking one right now. It's just like, I feel like your target customer, you have her in mind. And how did you do it?
I think the concept was very clear from the beginning. It never really changed, meaning that creating a happy, inclusive, accepting place without losing, as we said, that big reality of what life is. That we actually, before naming WKND Nation, we had this sort of interim name, which was Wear for Living. And we wanted to basically create clothes that people can live a big life. And when I mean big, I'm not talking about doing unbelievable things and, but more rather happy, fulfilling, do stuff that makes you feel great in your skin. That's ultimately what it has always been. And the visuals, I'm a big fan of bold, loud, unapologetic colors and shapes. And I remember we hired this branding agency that Phuong is close with the founders, and they presented a bunch of things. And I hate green and blue. The true story.
Phuong's like, yes, I'm aware. I know.
I can't tell you, in my styling, I never, ever. And I see this and I'm like, oh my God, I like it. Like there is something about it. Then they added the coral, which kind of brought the femininity. But again, the colors represent a little bit of that neutral, the blue and the green. It wasn't about being so feminine or being too masculine. I feel like we wanted to find a balance that can represent human beings. I know we're focusing on women right now because that's what we're capable of producing as we speak. Of course, we want to grow it, kids, animals, men, it was just like, again, you want to create that energy through those visuals. So very early on this came about. It wasn't like, oh, let's put it out there and give these amazing people they're amazing, the opportunity. We were very kind of literal, and then they took it and created this amazing watermark and the fawn. I fell in love with it immediately.
I think one of the things that we've tried to keep in mind while we're building the community and building the brand and the visuals, we don't want to be too much of like one thing. We want to be able to, I think, it's not just for millennials. It's not just for Gen Z. It's not just for people in New York. It's not just, for the coastal people. It's for people in St. Louis. Or, I think that you want to be kind of really democratic, because I feel like our brand is something that a lot of people can relate to and do relate to. But then you also just don't want to be like, hey, we're for everyone. Like then you have no boundaries, then you have no brand, right? It's just like nothing. So I think it's like balancing this kind of inclusive, like community building thing that like a lot of people relate to, but then also having a stake in the ground. So which is, when Sophia's talking about the blue and the green, like you wanted to keep it, gender neutral, but it's not just gray. Right? It's gender neutral, but it's still democratic, but still has like we're putting a stake in the ground. Like we're bold, we're colorful, you know, like we're about comfort, we're about fashion meets comfort. And so it's, I think, juggling those two things. I mean, a lot of times, like we even ask ourselves, it's like, okay, well, is a mom going to like this? Is a 22-year-old going to like this? And what kind? And so I think that like balancing those two have been like a big challenge for us, but I think it's a big part of our brand.
And a lot of people say, oh, you can dress this up or down. I feel like people just throw that out there. But with you guys, it really is true. I have worn this power tee out at night with like faux leather pants tucked in. I've worn it to a baby shower with a high-waisted skirt. When they say you can dress it up or down, it really is a real thing.
And I went to a lake house last weekend and I brought the pajama set with me. And I feel weird even calling it like the pajama set.
All day PJ set.
Like the all day PJ set, because I did wear it as pajamas, but then I also like wore it out to a barbecue. And then like 2 weeks earlier, I wore it out to a fancy dinner with like a fun little like wrapped. I mean, you can just do anything with these pieces because it's like, great, I know I've got something that's going to wash well, it's going to wear well, it's going to look great, I'm going to feel good, and it's easy and comfortable.
Okay, you're hired.
Great. Can you too, I mean, because obviously you guys have started this business, you're mothers, you're working 70 to 80 hours a week. I mean, you've got grueling schedules. You're starting this business in New York City, one of the toughest cities in the world. Can you walk us through a day in your life? What time are you waking up? What time are you going to bed? What are you eating?
I am interested in this question. Tina and I don't have kids yet. So we feel like we're busy and I'm constantly like, how are you guys structuring your day, fitting in way more things than we're fitting in?
Well, I'll start with my day. I am I'm a creature of habit. So I'm sober 13 years, which is something I never feel off. So that's something that greatly helps me be able to do what I do. If I was getting drunk, there's no chance in hell I would be able to do 1% of what I do. Okay. So that's one aspect that I like to bring up because it's a big one. I wake up usually early. So lately I've been waking up at 5 a.m. to get to the gym. It's my medicine. And it's not so much for, cause I like abs, whatever. I don't think about that when I go. It's my medicine to keep me stable and happy and be able to then show up calmly and mindfully and in a present way for everything that's about to go wrong. I say this sweetly because it's a series of obstacles and celebrations that, I think one needs to be present. I eat very, very healthy. In the summer, I went through this phase where I was eating shit and it affected my mood. I was angry, edgy. I'm very sensitive. So for me, because I'm very creative, highly sensitive human, I have to be very, very, very habitual and like boring. I don't like to get away from my schedule. So I'm a creature of habit and I'm really strict about it. From what I eat, I'm mostly vegan. I'm clean. Again, I don't drink. And I work all day. That's it. And then when I'm not, I'm with my kids. So my life, it's like, if someone's going to look at that, there's zero glamour. And I wouldn't be more lame if I tried.
I think this is so helpful for people to hear though, because if you take a look through that Instagram, I mean, you're gorgeous, you're creative, you've had all these cool credits. It looks super glam. And it's so helpful to hear that like, no, I take care of myself. I have a lot of discipline. I work a lot of hours and then I spend time with my kids, and it takes a lot of time and discipline to create the life that you have.
Well, ask me, why wake up at 5? Well, because I have to go to work. I have to take the kids to school at 7 and then I got to go to work. Work means the world. It's my third baby, Mm-hmm. So it's like I've made that decision. And I think for people out there being in love with what they do, it's going to take the sacrifices to be able to get your best self in that moment at that spot doing what you need to be doing. For Phuong, for example, it's different. I mean, she's much more normal.
Yeah, I'm interested.
In my life, I'm not as disciplined as Sofia. I feel like, it's a constant battle to juggle all of it. I mean, I feel like you're always feeling bad. Like I go into spurts where like I spend a lot of time with my kids and then I do a lot of work and then I spend a lot of time when you're doing one thing, you're always feeling bad about like not doing that other thing. I used to be a big planner. Like I planned every single, if I was going out to dinner next week, I'd be like looking at the menu right now, deciding what I want to eat. I just had to let go of that, ever since this happened. I don't know what my kids are doing next week. I'm like, the day of, I'm signing them up for camps.
Yes, right.
You just have to figure out, okay, like the store, 3 days ago, we weren't sure if we were even going to get the lease. And then all of a sudden we signed the lease, and 2 days later, like we're opening the store. So it's like really being able to, and hopefully it won't always be like this. I feel like now we're, because we're building the business, we're jumping on opportunities as they come. So I think this like process of building the business, you're also trying to figure out like how the rest of your life fits in. And I haven't really quite done that yet. I think one day my kids will look back on this and be like, oh yeah, that was cool. Like mom, like we got to watch mom build this thing. But then hopefully they will remember, like, remember that one time when mom didn't come home for like 3 days?
No, I know.
So
my mom worked
battle.
Constantly, and she worked in production. She was a producer. She was a stylist. She was always working, and I was never like the first kid picked up from whatever. But I look back, and she's still working now, and I'm so proud. Just like you guys. I think that they'll remember how cool it was.
Oh, they love it. Like they were making lemonade outside this. They love it. No, I agree. I tell Phuong all the time that she has more guilt than I do because I grew up with my mom. Her mom was involving her in sort of the growth of the business, which I think is beautiful. Mine was a star traveling. So like I had this serious separation thing. And now I'm like, oh God bless you. You're amazing. But it took a minute. But to her point, like you invite me to dinner, I won't come because that means taking my dinner from my children who have not seen me all day. There's these things where you just like, yeah, and then I'm boring and I'm like, I'm gonna, eat shitty food and chill with the kids and like, they're great and all, but like, I mean, how fun it is to hang out with our girlfriends, but no, it's like, so it's those decisions that you gotta kind of make and something always lacks a little bit because what's the ultimate goal? WKND Nation.
Mm-hmm. Do either of you or both of you have self-care routines or something that you do for yourself?
I mean, I think I probably should be doing more self-care for sure. Like, I think I should be better at it, but I do, I love cooking, try to cook for my family, like almost every night. And that like really relaxes me. Like I love kind of like last meeting's over, I start like cooking I cook 2 meals a night because of course my kids won't eat what I eat. So then, I start that whole process. That really is relaxing for me. And then, I probably need to exercise more, but I do play tennis whenever I can. And that is a thing that really kind of, I've been seeing myself get better at it as I've been doing it more regularly. And so I think that's something that calms me and makes me feel better about myself. But I think overall, like I probably should be doing more.
And without having traditional business hours, which Tina and I know this very well. Is there anything that you do to kind of manage, like, is there a certain time you put your phone down? Do you have any boundaries in that sort of way?
I mean, I think like Sofia and I both know, like, we're constantly talking like all day long, but I think between the hours of like 6 and 9, we don't really talk because that's when I'm with my kids. And then I put them to sleep and I want to be there with them. And then after that, it's like, constant barrage.
Sure.
But that's definitely something like one boundary that's not even that like, don't text me between 6 and 9. It's just something that like we naturally do.
For me, it's more like my thing is working out. Again, the 5 a.m. wake up. I used to work out a lot more than when COVID hit. And I actually worked out during COVID. I'm lying. It's when WKND Nation started. I stopped, which really affected my well-being 100%. Again, what I said before. The sensitivity. So for me, the well-being part, the wellness, is the workout. I work out once or twice a day within 2 hours of waking up, meaning something very different. One is obviously low impact or not, but it's because I don't want to take meds. Like, I don't want to be, I don't want to, I want to do it the natural way because I have a lot of anxiety. I feel like that's why I used to drink, like a lot of it, like high. I no longer have it. When I it just goes away. It's just like I have this rule of I wake up no matter what and I'll do that, and then everything seems to feel manageable. So well-being for me is that, and when I tend to relax, I don't meditate. I used to try, but it hasn't worked for me. Journal, and again, the part of shutting off. What I've learned is because I react very easily. It's like I have this idea, I'm going to do it. I realized that it gets lost unless there's intention to something and you kind of take a minute to really understand what it is that you want the team to understand, whether it's something that you don't like or a new idea that you want to put out there. I think it's been a boundary of mine that I've recently started kind of creating, where it's like getting angry about something that is not in your head is really a no-go. It's never going to work, right? You're never going to be able to get that. So it's almost like learning to actually understand my own ideas and kind of calendarizing them in a way where you present it to the team, and then you then create together, is another form of taking care of not only myself, but like being part of this business, because we're so in it, right? So it's part of life versus like texting something that just came. It's like all the chatter, you don't need to constantly share that part. I feel like we're forming that boundary within our very new company here, where it becomes stable. I'm not saying that whatever you say is it, but I'm saying that like there is just more of an intention in everything that we do and how we do it and why we share it and what we expect out of it.
That's just really, I just learned a lot from that. I can be very reactive immediately, especially where something, if I don't like something, it's like, no. Like I just need to I feel like I need to get it out. Tina knows this, but okay. Can you tell us, what are your dreams for Weekend Nation? What's next?
I love what you guys have been able to tell us about our brand, what you guys have seen, how you guys interpret it. And it just feels exactly like the way that we wanted people to feel about it. I think at this point, just not enough people know about us or have experienced it. So for me, it's really just about getting people to really understand our brand, be excited about it, in the way that you guys and kind of the, a lot of the people that we personally talk to have, but it's really kind of building that community and making it something that people, one day when they see us, they know exactly what we're about. That, because we're only 5 months old, that hasn't happened yet. And so that's why we're out there with the physical location to introduce people to the brand. We're out there in social media, we're out there, in emails and on digital, just to make sure that we're getting that message out there and getting it to as many people as we can.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Phuong. I think it's about our brand really, again, focuses on the experience and the individuality. So what I mean by that is we feel very responsible for every person that walks through the door or clicks on that website, for them to get a sense of joy and a sense of excitement. So the ultimate goal is for that to just spread, right? We just want people to feel really good in their skin, period. It's we're not trying to tell you how to do it, and we're not kind of setting this ideal of this is what the brand is meant to be, look like and how you should wear it. It's more like we're so kind of interested in creating pieces that have details that make your life easier, that make you feel sexy, strong, good, but then we want to give you the power. So it's empowering women in a way that the power is that very subtle, confident place of I feel good in my skin, to then go do whatever it is. Maybe it's hide in my room for a week, right? We're not trying to tell you to go out there and become a CEO tomorrow, right? It's just feel good, accept it, feel good. And everything that we can put out there, and we want to show all of the people, and that's what we love about, the Weekend Nationers. It's because it's not about what we say, it's how we see that others are saying it through the clothes. And that's the most exciting thing. It's just that's the part that we want to see grow and grow and grow, because people should feel good in their skin regardless.
Yes. Before we let you go, we want to just ask a few little fun questions. Do you guys have a favorite travel destination?
Greece.
Yeah, I was going to say Vietnam. I
love that. Going home.
I haven't been there. Yeah, going home. My husband and I have our 10th wedding anniversary in 2023, and we're going to do a big party there.
Okay, so what is one beauty product that you just cannot live without? It's your desert island. This is what I've always got in my bag.
Say Beauty, the sun visor. I think
sun visor. I literally just bought that.
Divine.
My new face roller.
I'm dying for one of those.
I was gone for 2 weeks. I didn't bring it because who wants to bring this big thing? And I looked horrible. And then I came home and used it a couple times, and I'm totally feel better now.
I'm sure there's no way you looked horrible, but I love that. Okay, who is the woman that inspires each of you the most?
My mom. She's awesome.
Sophia's mom. No, I'm kidding.
Sophia's mom.
No, my mom.
My mom and Phuong love each other. So
Both our moms are very strong women, and I think for me, she's not the most maternal mom. I mean, I think I've met a lot of more maternal moms, but I think that she's been one of the people who kind of inspired me to be who I am today.
Now, where can we find you? Where can we find you online, social media?
www.weekendnation.com, WKND Nation.com. And then we're also on Instagram at Weekend Nation.
Thank you so much for spending an hour with us. This was so amazing. We're so honored to be able to talk to you. We've been huge fans for so long.
we love hearing that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we loved meeting you, and I love this chat and getting to know you guys too. Thanks so much.
Come see us, okay?